I never thought my own family would betray me. The cousin I grew up with used artificial intelligence to create fake evidence of abuse. My parents, who I thought would always have my back, believed her lies without question. They kicked me out, destroyed my career prospects, and left me homeless. But technology works both ways. I found proof of her deception, and when I returned with it, their world shattered just like mine had. Before I begin my story, I'd love to know where you're watching from. Drop your location in the comments below, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button. Trust me, if you've ever been wrongfully accused or betrayed by family, this story will resonate with you in ways you can't imagine. Let's dive in. My name is Alec Fisher, and until 6 months ago, I was living what most would consider a charmed life. At 21, I was in my third year at Stanford University, maintaining a near-perfect GPA in computer science, and had just landed a prestigious internship at Horizon Technologies, one of Silicon Valley's most innovative AI firms. My parents, Margaret and Raymond Fisher, had always been supportive of my academic pursuits. My father, an accountant with a stable practice, and my mother, a high school English teacher, had worked tirelessly to ensure I had every opportunity to succeed. Our family gatherings were always filled with warmth and celebration of achievements. That included my cousin Vanessa Wilson, my mother's sister's daughter, who was 2 years younger than me at 19. Vanessa was studying psychology at a state university, and while she was intelligent, she had always lived somewhat in my shadow within the family. Looking back, I should have noticed the signs. The way her smile never quite reached her eyes when my parents bragged about my accomplishments. The backhanded compliments that seemed supportive on the surface but carried subtle barbs. "Wow, Alec, another award? Must be nice to have everything come so easily to you." Or, "I guess some people just have all the luck with professors, right?" But I was naive, focused on my studies and career prospects. I genuinely thought Vanessa and I had a good relationship. We'd grown up together, spent summers at the same family lake house, shared inside jokes about our grandmother's terrible cooking. I never imagined she harbored such deep resentment. The last normal day I remember was at a family dinner celebrating my internship offer. My parents had invited our extended family over, including Vanessa and her parents. My mother had prepared all my favorites: her special lasagna, garlic bread, and homemade tiramisu. "A toast," my father said, raising his glass. "To Alec, who continues to make us proud. Horizon Technologies is lucky to have you, son." Everyone clinked glasses, and I noticed Vanessa's grip tightening around her water glass. Her congratulations came later than everyone else's, almost as an afterthought. "What exactly will you be doing there?" my uncle asked. "I'll be working with Dr. Lawrence Chin on their natural language processing systems," I explained, not hiding my excitement. "It's cutting-edge stuff, using AI to analyze communication patterns." "Is that the guy who gave that TED Talk last year?" my aunt asked. "That's him," my mother chimed in before I could answer. "Alec impressed him so much during the interview that Dr. Chin personally requested him for his team." I caught Vanessa's eye roll, so quick I almost missed it. She quickly recovered with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "How nice for you," she said. "Some people just have all the doors open for them." I brushed it off, attributing her comment to having a bad day. Later, as we were cleaning up, my phone kept buzzing with congratulatory messages from friends. Each notification seemed to darken Vanessa's mood further. As she was leaving, she lingered behind her parents, watching me from across the room. There was something calculating in her expression that I couldn't decipher then. If only I had known what was forming in her mind, perhaps I could have prevented the nightmare that was about to unfold. 2 weeks later, I was settling into my internship at Horizon Technologies. Dr. Lawrence Chin was even more brilliant in person than in his publications, and he took me under his wing immediately. The work was challenging but exhilarating, exactly what I had hoped for. We were developing algorithms to detect patterns in digital communications, ironically tools that might have saved me from what was coming. "You have good instincts, Alec," Dr. Chen told me after I spotted a flaw in one of the test algorithms. Keep this up, and we'll be offering you a permanent position before you even graduate. I couldn't have been happier. My future seemed laid out before me, bright and full of possibility. Meanwhile, unbeknownst to me, Vanessa was hard at work on a project of her own, my destruction. Vanessa had always been tech-savvy, though she chose psychology as her major. What I didn't know was that she had developed a particular interest in the darker applications of artificial intelligence. While I was learning to build protective systems, she was learning to exploit them. Her apartment had become a workshop for her scheme. Her walls were covered with notes about deepfake technology, AI voice synthesis, and digital manipulation techniques. She had printed screenshots of my social media profiles, highlighted posts where I'd shared personal information, and mapped out my daily routines based on location tags. Vanessa started small, collecting materials. She downloaded every photo I'd ever posted online. She recorded snippets of my voice during family video calls, asking innocent questions that would make me say specific phrases she needed. Hey Alec, can you repeat that thing you always say about technology? Or, what was that quote you mentioned last time? She invested in premium AI tools marketed for creative content but perfectly suited for her malicious purposes. One program allowed her to generate fake text conversations that looked exactly like they came from my phone, down to the timestamps and message bubbles. Another could alter photos just enough to change context without looking obviously edited. Vanessa spent hours crafting a narrative. In her fabricated reality, I had become obsessed with her, sending increasingly threatening messages when she rejected my advances. She created dozens of fake text exchanges, starting with seemingly innocent compliments that gradually escalated to explicit content and threats. Perfect, she muttered one night, reviewing a particularly convincing fake message thread. The AI had captured my texting style perfectly, using phrases and emojis I commonly employed. She had even programmed in occasional typos and autocorrect errors to enhance authenticity. But texts weren't enough. Vanessa knew she needed stronger evidence to turn my parents against me completely. Using an advanced AI imaging tool, she manipulated photos of us from family gatherings to make it appear I was standing too close, touching her inappropriately, or staring at her with unnerving intensity. She practiced her story repeatedly, standing before her bathroom mirror, perfecting the trembling voice, the fearful glances, the hesitant way she would reveal the truth about her cousin. I've been afraid to tell anyone, she rehearsed, tears welling convincingly in her eyes. He said no one would believe me over him. That I'd be the one who got in trouble. Vanessa didn't rush. She spent nearly 3 weeks perfecting her evidence and practicing her performance. She researched how real victims behave, incorporating subtle details into her act, the way she'd flinch at sudden movements, how she'd wrap her arms protectively around herself when describing the harassment. The final piece came when she hacked into an old email account I had forgotten to change the password on. We had shared computer access years ago during a family vacation, and I had foolishly saved my login information. Through this, she gained access to cloud storage where she could plant backdated evidence. On a Tuesday night, when she knew my parents would be home, Vanessa sent a text message to my mother. Aunt Margaret, I need to talk to you and Uncle Raymond about something important. Something terrible. Can I come over tomorrow evening? Please don't tell Alec I'm coming. My mother, concerned by the cryptic message, immediately called Vanessa, who answered in a whisper. I can't talk about it over the phone, she said, her voice catching. Please, I'll explain everything tomorrow. Just make sure Alec isn't there. The trap was set. And I, completely unaware, was about to walk right into it. The following evening, I was working late at Horizon Technologies, immersed in a particularly challenging algorithm problem. My phone was on silent, tucked away in my backpack. I had no idea that across town, in my parents' living room, my life was being systematically dismantled. Margaret and Raymond Fisher sat stiffly on their couch, the atmosphere thick with tension. My father kept checking his watch, while my mother refreshed her phone every few minutes. She said she'd be here by 7, my mother said nervously. It's not like Vanessa to be late. Whatever this is about, it can't be good, my father replied, his accountant's mind already running through worst-case scenarios. She sounded terrified on the phone. The doorbell rang at 7:15 p.m. My mother rushed to answer it, finding Vanessa on the doorstep looking nothing like her usual put-together self. Her hair was pulled back messily, her face bare of makeup, eyes red and puffy. She wore an oversized sweatshirt that made her appear smaller, more vulnerable. "Come in, honey." My mother guided her to the living room. "What's going on? We've been so worried." Vanessa sat down shakily, clutching her phone in white-knuckled hands. She stared at the floor, seemingly unable to begin. "Whatever it is, you can tell us," my father said gently. "Are you in some kind of trouble?" Vanessa took a deep, shuddering breath. "It's about Alec," she whispered. My parents exchanged confused glances. "What about Alec?" my mother asked. He's been harassing me," Vanessa said, her voice breaking. "For months now. I didn't want to say anything because he's your son, and I know how proud you are of him, but I can't take it anymore." "Harassing you? That doesn't sound like Alec at all," my father said, his brow furrowed. Vanessa looked up, tears streaming down her face. "I knew you wouldn't believe me. That's why I've been suffering in silence. But it's gotten worse since he started at Horizon. Like he thinks he's untouchable now." "Slow down," my mother said, moving to sit beside Vanessa. "What exactly are you saying Alec has done?" Vanessa unlocked her phone with trembling fingers. It started with texts. Compliments at first, but weird ones. About how I looked, how he'd always noticed me. I tried to laugh it off, keep things normal between us. But then they got explicit. She turned her phone to show my parents the fabricated text conversations. Their faces paled as they scrolled through messages that appeared to come from my number, growing increasingly inappropriate and eventually threatening. "This can't be real," my father whispered. "There's more." Vanessa continued, pulling up doctored photos that made it appear I had been secretly taking pictures of her at family gatherings, zoomed in inappropriately. "He sent these to me, told me he had more. Said if I told anyone, he'd share them online, claim I sent them to him willingly." My mother's hand covered her mouth in horror. "When did this start?" "Around Christmas." Vanessa lied smoothly. "Remember when he kept offering to help me with my computer science elective? I thought he was just being nice, but then..." She proceeded to weave a convincing narrative, mixing real events with fabricated ones, creating a timeline of escalating harassment that culminated in alleged threats from the previous week. "He cornered me at Aunt Susan's birthday party last weekend," she claimed, referring to a family gathering I had indeed attended. "When no one was looking, he told me if I didn't meet him privately, he'd make sure my parents found out about things I'd supposedly done. Things that never happened." My father, normally logical and measured, was visibly shaken. "Why would he do this? It makes no sense." "I don't know," Vanessa sobbed. "Maybe he's always resented that I'm close with you both. Maybe he's just not the person you think he is when no one's watching." While this scene played out, I remained oblivious at work. Around 8:30 p.m., I finally checked my phone during a coffee break. I found several missed calls from both parents and cryptic text messages. From Dad, "We need to talk. Come home immediately." From Mom, "How could you? We're so disappointed." Confused and concerned, I called my father, but he didn't pick up. I tried my mother next. "Mom? What's going on?" I asked when she answered. "Just come home. Now." Her voice was cold, unfamiliar. She hung up before I could ask anything more. Worried, I told Dr. Chen I had a family emergency and left immediately. The entire drive home, I racked my brain trying to figure out what could have happened. Had someone been hurt? Had I forgotten an important family obligation? When I pulled into our driveway at 9:15 p.m., I noticed Vanessa's car parked on the street. Still confused, I entered the house to find my parents and Vanessa sitting in the living room. The atmosphere hit me like a physical force, thick with tension, anger, and something else I couldn't immediately identify. Disappointment. They all turned to look at me. My father's face was hard as stone. My mother couldn't meet my eyes. And Vanessa, sitting between them, flinched visibly at my entrance, shrinking back as if afraid. I stood frozen in the doorway, completely unprepared for what was about to happen. "Sit down, Alec," my father said, his voice colder than I'd ever heard it. I moved cautiously to an armchair across from them, increasingly confused by the hostility radiating from my parents and Vanessa's apparent fear. "What's going on?" I asked, looking between them. "Is everything okay?" My father slid a tablet across the coffee table toward me. "Is this what you call okay? Explain these." I picked up the device and felt the blood drain from my face. On the screen were text messages that appeared to be from me to Vanessa Vile, threatening messages I had never written. I scrolled in horror through dozens of exchanges, each worse than the last. "I didn't write these," I said immediately, looking up. "This is insane. I never sent any of this." "We've seen everything, Alec," my mother said, her voice shaking. "The texts, the pictures, all of it. How could you do this to your own cousin?" Vanessa made a small, frightened sound and pressed herself deeper into the couch cushions. "Do what? I haven't done anything." I was growing frantic now, the reality of the situation dawning on me. "These are fake. Someone must have spoofed my number or something." "Stop lying," my father said sharply. "The evidence is right there. These came from your phone. Your accounts." "They didn't. I swear to you, I never sent these messages. I would never say these things to anyone, let alone Vanessa." I turned to my cousin pleadingly. "Vanessa, tell them this isn't true. You know I would never do this." At the direct address, Vanessa visibly recoiled, turning her face away as if she couldn't bear to look at me. It was a masterful performance. "See what you're doing to her?" my mother snapped. "Haven't you done enough?" I felt like I was drowning, unable to comprehend how quickly my world was collapsing. "Mom, Dad, please. This is some kind of mistake or setup. I'm telling you the truth." "Then how do you explain this?" My father took the tablet back and pulled up a photo that appeared to show me standing uncomfortably close to Vanessa at our last family gathering, my hand positioned in a way that suggested inappropriate touching. I remembered that moment I had simply reached past her for a drink, but the angle and subtle digital manipulation made it look sinister. "That's not what happened. That picture has been altered." I was practically shouting now, panic rising in my chest. "And this?" He showed another, and another, all innocuous moments digitally manipulated to appear predatory. "I don't know how these were made, but they're fake." "They must be," I said desperately. "There's technology that can do this now. AI can create fake images, fake texts." "Vanessa." I turned to her again. "Why are you doing this? What did I ever do to you?" Vanessa burst into tears, burying her face in my mother's shoulder. My mother wrapped a protective arm around her. "That's enough," my father said, standing up. "We've heard enough." "You haven't heard anything. You haven't let me explain," I protested. "What's to explain? We can see the evidence with our own eyes," my father said. "I thought we raised you better than this. I thought we knew who you were." The words struck like physical blows. "You do know who I am. I'm your son. I would never do this." My father's face hardened further. "The son I thought I knew wouldn't terrorize his own cousin. Wouldn't threaten a young woman. Wouldn't lie to our faces when confronted with proof. It's not proof. It's fake." I was desperate now, looking from face to face for any sign of doubt, any willingness to consider my side. There was none. "I want you out of this house," my father said quietly. The words didn't register at first. "What?" "You heard me. Pack a bag and get out. I won't have someone like this under my roof." "Dad, please," I begged, turning to my mother. Mom, you can't believe this. You know me. My mother wouldn't meet my eyes. She just held Vanessa closer, who continued to sob convincingly. Your father's right, she said softly. You need to leave. Tonight. Where am I supposed to go? I asked, stunned. That's not our concern anymore, my father replied. You're an adult who made adult choices. Now face the adult consequences. I stood there, swaying slightly with shock. Can I at least have a chance to prove these are fake? There are experts who can analyze them, show they've been manipulated. There's one more thing, my father said, ignoring my plea. He pulled out his phone. I've already called Dr. Chen at Horizon. My blood ran cold. You did what? I couldn't in good conscience let you continue working there without them knowing what kind of person they hired. Dr. Chen was disappointed, to say the least. Your internship has been suspended pending investigation. The floor seemed to drop from beneath me. In less than an hour, I had lost my family's trust, my home, and my career opportunity. All based on lies. You've ruined my life without even giving me a chance to defend myself, I said, my voice hollow with disbelief. You ruined your own life when you decided to become a predator, my father replied harshly. I looked at Vanessa, who peered at me from behind my mother's protective embrace. For just a second, I caught something in her eyes, not fear, but triumph. It vanished so quickly I almost thought I'd imagined it. In a daze, I went to my room and packed a backpack with essentials, some clothes, my laptop, toiletries, and what little cash I had on hand. When I came back downstairs, my parents stood by the door, my mother crying silently while my father maintained his stony expression. I didn't do this, I said one last time, my voice breaking. And someday you'll realize that. I just hope it's not too late when you do. My mother turned away, unable to watch as I walked out the door into the cool night air. My father closed it firmly behind me, the lock clicking with a terrible finality. Standing in the driveway beside my car, I looked back at the house I'd grown up in, the windows glowing warmly in the darkness. Inside was everything I'd ever known and loved, now closed to me because of lies. I got in my car and drove away, having no idea where I was going, only that I couldn't stay. The first night was the hardest. I drove aimlessly for hours, mind reeling, occasionally pulling over when tears blurred my vision too much to continue safely. Around 3 a.m., I parked in a 24-hour supermarket lot and tried to sleep in my reclined driver's seat. Sleep didn't come. Instead, I stared at the ceiling of my car, replaying the evening's events over and over, trying to understand how my life had imploded so completely in a single night. Morning brought no clarity, only the harsh reality of my new circumstances. I used the supermarket bathroom to wash my face and brush my teeth, avoiding eye contact with curious shoppers. I had approximately $210 in my bank account, my next paycheck from Horizon now suspended indefinitely. My first instinct was to fight back immediately. I drove to Horizon Technologies, hoping to speak with Dr. Chen in person, to explain that the accusations were false. The security guard at the front desk stopped me before I could reach the elevators. I'm sorry, Mr. Fisher, but I've been instructed not to allow you access to the building, he said uncomfortably. Dr. Chen says all communication should go through HR from now on. Please, just 5 minutes with him, I begged. There's been a terrible mistake. I'm just doing my job, sir. I need to ask you to leave before I have to call security. Defeated, I returned to my car. I tried calling and emailing Dr. Chen throughout the day, but received only a terse response from Human Resources stating that my internship was suspended pending investigation into serious allegations of misconduct, and that all company property should be returned by mail. I spent that first week living out of my car, moving between different parking lots to avoid attention. I signed up for a monthly membership at a local gym, $45 I could barely afford just to have access to showers and bathrooms. I rationed my remaining money carefully, living on convenience store sandwiches and instant noodles heated with hot water from gas station bathrooms. Sleep was fitful at best, impossible at worst. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my parents' faces, twisted with disappointment and disgust. I saw Vanessa's performance, so convincing that even I sometimes questioned my own innocence in my darkest moments. I reached out to friends, hoping someone might offer a couch or spare room while I sorted things out. The responses were telling. "Hey man, I think it's best if we take some space right now. Not sure what's going on with you, but I can't get involved. Dude, I heard some stuff. I don't think I can help you." Word had spread. I didn't know exactly what was being said, but it was clearly enough to turn people away. Only one person responded differently: Olivia Chin, Dr. Lawrence's daughter, who I'd met briefly during a department function. "I don't know what's happening," she texted, "but my dad seems really shaken about whatever he heard. This doesn't sound like you at all. Are you okay?" Her message was the first kindness I'd received in days, and I nearly broke down reading it. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop the following day. For the first time since that terrible night, I felt a glimmer of hope. But fate wasn't done with me yet. That night, parked in what I thought was a safe spot behind an abandoned strip mall, I was awakened by a flashlight beam through my window and a knock from a police officer. "You can't sleep here, son," he said. "Private property." I apologized and started my car, but it made a terrible grinding noise and wouldn't turn over. The battery was dead. "I'll call you a tow," the officer said, not unkindly. "But you'll need to find somewhere else to stay." The tow truck driver charged $75 I couldn't spare to jump my battery, explaining that it was shot and needed replacement soon. Worse, while moving my belongings to access the battery, he accidentally knocked my backpack into a puddle, soaking my spare clothes and damaging my laptop beyond repair. I drove to a truck stop that allowed overnight parking, crying silently at the wheel. In 1 week, I had lost my family, my internship, my friends, and now most of my possessions. I had $85 left to my name, a dying car, and nowhere to go. The next day, I managed to make it to my meeting with Olivia, though I was disheveled and exhausted. "Alec, you look terrible," she said, genuine concern in her eyes. "What's happening?" I told her everything: Vanessa's accusations, my parents' reaction, my current homeless state. To my relief, she didn't immediately dismiss me. "This all seems so strange," she said thoughtfully. "It doesn't match anything I know about you. And the timing is suspicious, right when you were doing so well at Horizon. I think Vanessa used AI to create fake evidence," I explained. "But I have no way to prove it. My laptop is ruined, and I'm running out of money fast." Olivia frowned. "I wish I could help more directly, but my dad would kill me if he knew I was even talking to you. He's convinced you're some kind of predator. But I don't believe it." Her support meant everything, but it couldn't solve my immediate problems. We agreed to stay in touch discreetly while I tried to figure out my next steps. 2 days later, my car finally gave out completely, sputtering to a stop on a side street miles from anywhere familiar. The mechanic quoted $800 for repairs, an impossible sum. With no other options, I had to abandon it, taking what I could carry in a duffel bag and leaving most of my remaining possessions behind. That night, I found myself in a homeless encampment under a highway overpass. The residents eyed me warily. At first, a college kid in increasingly dirty Stanford sweatpants didn't fit their usual demographic. But desperation makes for strange bedfellows. A middle-aged man named Tyler approached me as I sat on a concrete barrier, staring blankly at the ground. "First night on the streets?" he asked, sitting beside me. I nodded, unable to speak past the lump in my throat. "It gets easier," he said, offering me a granola bar from his pocket. "Not good, but easier." Tyler, I learned, had once been a software developer at a mid-sized tech company before mental health issues and a messy divorce left him homeless. He'd been living under the overpass for 8 months. "What's your story, kid?" he asked. I told him, not expecting belief but needing to say it out loud to someone who had no preconceptions about me. To my surprise, Tyler nodded thoughtfully. "AI frame up. Smart. Vicious but smart." I worked on machine learning systems before everything went sideways. The tech now can do things that would blow your mind. You believe me? I asked, stunned. Why not? Truth is usually stranger than the lies people tell. He shrugged. Besides, you don't have the eyes of someone who did what you're accused of. Under Tyler's guidance, I learned the harsh realities of street survival, which public bathrooms were safest, which restaurants threw out still edible food at closing time, how to keep warm with minimal resources. He shared his tent with me those first few nights, a kindness I could never fully repay. Depression settled over me like a heavy blanket. I stopped checking my phone, which was nearly dead anyway with no reliable way to charge it. I stopped counting days. I simply existed, moving through a gray fog of despair. One evening, huddled in Tyler's tent while rain pounded the thin nylon above us, I hit my lowest point. Maybe this is it, I whispered, more to myself than to Tyler. Maybe this is my life now. That's the streets talking. Tyler replied firmly. The moment you accept this as permanent is the moment it becomes permanent. I pulled out my phone, using precious battery life to look once more at screenshots I'd taken of Vanessa's evidence before leaving home. Something caught my eye that I hadn't noticed before: a slight pixelation around the text bubbles in one image, a telltale smudge in another. Small inconsistencies that might indicate digital manipulation. Tyler, I said slowly, I think I might be able to prove these are fake. Tyler leaned over to look at my screen. You'll need better tools than a dying phone, kid. But yeah, I see what you mean. There's definitely something off about these images. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of determination. I need to find a way to analyze these properly. To trace them back to their source. Now you're thinking, Tyler said with the first real smile I'd seen from him. The truth is still the truth, even when nobody believes it. You just need to find a way to make it undeniable. That night, I slept more soundly than I had since leaving home. I had a purpose now, a direction. I would find proof of Vanessa's deception, no matter what it took. I would reclaim my life and make sure she could never do this to anyone else. The path ahead was still dark and uncertain, but for the first time, I could see a faint light in the distance. I just had to find a way to reach it. The next morning, I woke with a renewed sense of purpose. The homeless encampment was already stirring with activity as people prepared for another day of survival, but my mind was focused on a different kind of survival, proving my innocence. If we're going to do this, we need better equipment than a dying phone, Tyler said, rummaging through his few possessions. He pulled out a battered laptop. It's old, but it works. Battery's shot, though, so we need power. Where did you get this? I asked, surprised. I told you I was in tech. Couldn't bear to sell it, even when things got bad. He shrugged. Some belongings are part of who you are. Our first challenge was finding a place with both power outlets and Wi-Fi where we wouldn't be kicked out. Tyler suggested the Sunshine Diner, a 24-hour establishment where the night manager, Darlene, sometimes looked the other way for homeless patrons as long as they bought something occasionally and didn't cause trouble. We'll need to clean up first, Tyler advised. Public library has bathrooms we can use. After making ourselves as presentable as possible, we headed to the Sunshine Diner around 11 p.m. when the dinner crowd had thinned out. Tyler ordered U.S. coffee, the cheapest item on the menu, and we settled into a corner booth with a convenient outlet. So what exactly are we looking for? Tyler asked as his laptop whirred to life. Inconsistencies, artifacts, anything that shows these images and texts have been manipulated, I explained. The problem is, advanced AI tools are really good at hiding their tracks. All tech leaves fingerprints if you know where to look, Tyler said confidently. Let me see what you've got. I forwarded the screenshots from my phone to Tyler's email. He downloaded them and began examining them closely, zooming in on details I couldn't even see on my small screen. Look here, he said after a few minutes, pointing to a text bubble. See this pixelation pattern? It's subtle, but it's not consistent with normal compression artifacts from a screenshot. And here. He moved to another image. The lighting on your face in this photo doesn't match the rest of the scene. That's something, but is it enough? I asked doubtfully. Not yet, Tyler admitted. We need to get into the metadata, see if there are timestamp inconsistencies or editing markers. Over the next few days, we established a routine. During daylight hours, we would visit the public library where we could use their computers for limited sessions. At night, we'd camp out at the Sunshine Diner with Tyler's laptop, buying the occasional coffee or sharing a plate of fries to justify our presence. I reached out to Olivia, who had been texting me periodically to check in. I explained what we were trying to do, and she immediately offered to help. My dad has access to advanced image analysis software through Horizon, she said when we met at a park bench the following day. I can't get you direct access, but I can run some tests if you send me the files. Won't your dad find out? I asked, concerned for her. He's barely home these days, working late on some new project. Besides, I know his passwords. She smiled wryly. Being the daughter of a tech genius who doesn't change his passwords regularly has its perks. With Olivia's help, our investigation took a significant leap forward. The sophisticated software detected inconsistencies. Our amateur efforts had missed subtle warping in some images, irregularities in text formatting that suggested AI generation rather than authentic messaging. This is definitely manipulated, Olivia confirmed after a week of analysis. But we need more. We need to trace it back to Vanessa directly. I had been racking my brain trying to remember any connection I might still have to Vanessa's digital life. Then it hit me. The cloud account! I exclaimed during one of our late-night sessions at the diner. Years ago, when we were teenagers, Vanessa and I set up a shared cloud storage account for family photos. I haven't used it in years, but my login might still work. Tyler's fingers flew over the keyboard as I dictated the old login information. To my amazement, it worked. The account was still active, though dormant for years. Looks like someone's been using it recently, though, Tyler noted, pointing to recent activity logs. We began methodically searching through the account's contents and activity history. And there it was, a folder named Projecta, created 3 weeks before the accusations, containing early drafts of the fake evidence. She got sloppy, Tyler said with a grim smile. Probably thought you'd never think to check this old account. But the real breakthrough came when we discovered subscription receipts for an AI tool called Deep Create Pro in the account's email archives. The timestamps aligned perfectly with the creation of the fake evidence. We need to follow this trail, Tyler said. See if we can link this subscription directly to Vanessa. Olivia's contribution proved invaluable here. Using her father's credentials, she was able to request information from the AI company about the specific account, claiming it was part of Horizon's research into AI misuse. The account was paid for with a credit card registered to Vanessa Wilson, Olivia reported triumphantly when she met us at the diner the following evening. And there's more. The usage logs show exactly when and what kind of content was generated. It matches everything you were accused of. This is it, I breathed, hardly daring to believe it. This is actual proof. Over the next 2 days, we compiled everything we had discovered: the metadata analysis showing manipulation, the shared cloud account with early drafts, the subscription trail linking directly to Vanessa, and the usage logs showing exactly what kind of content was created and when. There's one more thing we should do, Tyler suggested. Run the text through a linguistic analysis tool. AI-generated text often has subtle patterns that differ from human writing. Using an open-source tool Tyler found, we analyzed the fake text messages attributed to me against samples of my actual writing from emails and social media posts. The results were clear. The fake messages contained linguistic patterns inconsistent with my writing style but matching known patterns of AI text generation. I think we've done it, Olivia said, looking over our assembled evidence. This is comprehensive proof that Vanessa fabricated everything using AI tools. I stared at the screen, emotions washing over me in waves: vindication, relief, and a deep, simmering anger at what Vanessa had done to me. For nearly 2 months, I had been living on the streets, cut off from family and future, all because of her calculated deception. "What now?" Tyler asked quietly. I took a deep breath, steadying myself. "Now I take this back to my parents. And I make sure Vanessa can never do this to anyone else." "Are you sure you're ready?" Olivia asked, concern in her eyes. "This won't be easy. I've been sleeping under a highway overpass because of her lies," I said firmly. "I'm more than ready." That night, back at the encampment, I couldn't sleep despite my exhaustion. Tomorrow would change everything one way or another. Either my family would accept the truth and begin to make amends, or they would reject it and confirm that I had truly lost them forever. Tyler seemed to sense my anxiety. "Whatever happens tomorrow, kid, you've done something important. You didn't just roll over and accept the lie. You fought back with truth. That matters." His words stayed with me as I watched the stars through a tear in the tent ceiling. The truth did matter. And tomorrow, it would finally have its day. Sunday had always been family dinner night at the Fisher household, a tradition my parents maintained even after I left for college. It was the one night of the week when phones were put away, the good china came out, and we reconnected as a family. I knew they would still be observing this ritual, possibly with Vanessa now included as the cousin they still trusted and loved. I chose this moment deliberately. Tyler helped me prepare as best we could. We visited a community outreach center where I was able to shower properly and get a haircut. A clothing donation center provided me with clean, presentable clothes, nothing fancy, but a vast improvement over what I'd been wearing. Olivia brought a portable printer to the diner, where we created physical copies of our evidence organized in a clear, chronological portfolio. "Remember, stay calm no matter what," Tyler advised as we reviewed the plan one final time. "The evidence speaks for itself. Don't let emotion derail you. And if they don't believe you even with all this proof," Olivia added, "I'm prepared to contact my father directly. He may not like it, but he's a scientist at heart. He respects evidence." At precisely 6:30 p.m., I stood on the sidewalk outside my childhood home, evidence folder clutched in sweaty hands. Through the dining room window, I could see them, my mother setting out serving dishes, my father pouring wine, and yes, Vanessa, laughing at something someone had said. The scene of domestic normalcy was surreal after everything I'd been through. I walked up the familiar path and rang the doorbell before I could lose my nerve. My father answered, his expression shifting from polite curiosity to shock as he recognized me. I had changed in the 2 months since he'd thrown me out, thinner, harder, with new lines etched around my eyes from stress and exposure. "Alec?" he said, his voice barely audible. "We need to talk," I said simply. "All of us." From the dining room, I heard my mother's voice. "Raymond? Who is it?" It's Alec," he called back, still staring at me as if seeing a ghost. There was a crash of breaking glass from inside, followed by hurried footsteps. My mother appeared beside my father, her face pale. "What are you doing here?" she demanded, though her voice lacked conviction. "You know you're not welcome." "I'm here because you need to see this," I replied, holding up the folder. "I have proof that everything Vanessa accused me of was fabricated using AI technology." "This is inappropriate," my father began, but I cut him off. "You didn't give me a chance to defend myself before. I'm asking for that chance now. That's all. Just look at the evidence." My mother's eyes flicked to the folder, then back to my face. Something in my expression must have reached her because she hesitated, then stepped back slightly. 10 minutes, she said. "That's all." I entered the house that had once been my home, feeling like a stranger. As we moved toward the dining room, Vanessa came into view. She froze when she saw me, color draining from her face. "What is he doing here?" she asked, her voice rising with practiced fear. "You promised he wouldn't come back." "It's okay, Vanessa," my mother soothed, though she kept a wary distance from me. "He says he has something to show us. It will just take a few minutes." Vanessa's eyes darted to the folder in my hands, a flicker of genuine fear crossing her face for the first time. Whatever that is, it's probably more manipulation, she said quickly. You can't trust anything he says. I think we should at least hear him out, my father said, surprising me. He gestured toward the dining table. 10 minutes, as your mother said? We sat at the table, the tension palpable. Vanessa positioned herself as far from me as possible, maintaining her victim persona. I opened the folder and laid out the evidence methodically, starting with the technical proof of AI manipulation. These are the original messages Vanessa claimed I sent her. I began, showing side-by-side comparisons with highlighted inconsistencies. You can see here and here the artifacts that indicate AI generation rather than authentic texts. My father leaned forward, examining the printouts with his accountant's attention to detail. My mother remained stiff, arms crossed defensively. This could be anything, Vanessa interjected. He could have made this up to confuse you. I'm just getting started, I replied calmly, though my heart was racing. I proceeded to the next section, the shared cloud account evidence. Vanessa and I created this account years ago for family photos. It's been inactive until recently, when someone began using it to store early drafts of the fake evidence. I showed them screenshots of the account activity, the folder timestamps, the draft versions of the manipulated photos. That proves nothing, Vanessa said, but her voice had lost some of its conviction. My father was now fully engaged, his brow furrowed as he examined each piece of evidence. How do we know this account is actually connected to Vanessa? He asked. That brings me to the most damning evidence, I replied, turning to the final section. Vanessa purchased a subscription to an AI content generation tool called Deep Create Pro 3 weeks before making her accusations. Here are the receipts from the cloud account email, showing her name and credit card information. I laid out the subscription documentation, along with the usage logs showing exactly what kind of content had been created and when. This is ridiculous, Vanessa said, standing abruptly. He's obviously fabricated all of this to make me look bad. If that's true, I countered, then you won't mind if we contact Deep Create Pro directly to verify the subscription, will you? I'm sure they'd be happy to confirm whose credit card was used and exactly what was created with their software. Vanessa paled visibly. There's more, I continued, pressing my advantage. We ran linguistic analysis comparing the fake texts allegedly from me against samples of my actual writing. The AI-generated text contains patterns inconsistent with how I write. My mother finally spoke, her voice shaking slightly. This is a lot to take in. I understand, I said gently. But there's one more thing you should know. I have a witness who can testify to the authenticity of this evidence. Olivia Chin, Dr. Lawrence's daughter, helped analyze these materials using Horizon's professional software. At the mention of Dr. Chin, my father's head snapped up. You've been in contact with the Chens? Olivia believed in my innocence when no one else did, I confirmed. She's prepared to speak with you, or with her father, about what we found. The room fell silent as my parents processed this information. Vanessa remained standing, her eyes darting between us, calculating her next move. This is all some elaborate trick, she finally said, but the tremor in her voice betrayed her panic. He's desperate and making things up. Then explain the credit card receipts, my father said quietly, looking directly at Vanessa for the first time. Explain the subscription to an AI tool specializing in deepfakes and text generation. That's not, someone must have stolen my information, she stammered. And used it to frame me for framing you? I asked, raising an eyebrow. That's quite a convoluted theory. My mother was looking at Vanessa with new eyes, doubt clearly visible in her expression. Vanessa, if there's something you need to tell us. This is insane. Vanessa cried, tears springing to her eyes, the same performance she'd given when accusing me. I can't believe you're falling for this after everything he did to me. The only thing I did was achieve things you were jealous of, I said, the months of pain finally breaking through my calm facade. You couldn't stand that my parents were proud of me, that I got into Stanford, that I landed the internship at Horizon. So you decided to destroy me. That's not true, Vanessa protested, but her denial lacked conviction. Then how do you explain all this evidence? My father pressed, gesturing to the documents spread across the table. These receipts have your name on them. This account was accessed from your devices. The timing lines up perfectly with when you came to us with your accusations. Vanessa looked trapped, her eyes darting around the room as if seeking escape. Then suddenly, her demeanor changed. The frightened victim vanished, replaced by cold anger. Fine, she spat. You want the truth? Yes, I created it all. And you know what? It was embarrassingly easy. The confession hung in the air, stunning us all into silence. Do you have any idea what it's like? She continued, her voice rising. Always being compared to perfect Alec? Always hearing why can't you be more like your cousin? Every family gathering, every holiday, it's the Alec show. Stanford scholarships, prestigious internships. I was sick of living in your shadow. My parents stared at her, horrified realization dawning on their faces. So you deliberately tried to ruin his life? My mother whispered. You made us throw our son out on the street over lies? He would have been fine, Vanessa said dismissively. People like Alec always land on their feet. I just wanted him to know what it feels like to not be the golden child for once. I've been homeless for 2 months, I said quietly. Sleeping under a highway overpass. Eating from dumpsters. All because you were jealous? For the first time, Vanessa seemed to grasp the magnitude of what she'd done. A flicker of something not quite remorse, but perhaps recognition crossed her face. I didn't think they'd react so extremely, she muttered. I just wanted to knock you down a peg. My father stood slowly, his face ashen. Get out of our house, Vanessa. Now. Uncle Raymond, you can't possibly. Now, he roared, making us all jump. What you've done is unconscionable. Criminal. Be grateful if we don't press charges. Vanessa looked around wildly, realizing she had lost. Without another word, she grabbed her purse and fled, the front door slamming behind her. In the silence that followed, I looked at my parents. They seemed to have aged years and minutes, the truth of their mistake weighing visibly on them. Alec, my mother began, tears streaming down her face. I don't know how we can ever. Don't, I said, raising a hand to stop her. Not now. This isn't a moment for quick forgiveness or easy reconciliation. You chose to believe the worst about me without giving me a fair chance. You threw me out without a second thought. We made a terrible mistake. My father said, his voice breaking. An unforgivable one. Maybe it is unforgivable, I replied honestly. I don't know yet. What I do know is that I'm not the same person who walked out that door 2 months ago. And we can't just pick up where we left off, as if nothing happened. I gathered my evidence back into the folder and stood. I came here for vindication, not reconciliation. That might come later, but I need time. Where are you going? My mother asked desperately. Please, at least stay here tonight. Your room is exactly as you left it. I shook my head. I have people waiting for me. People who believed in me when you didn't. Your internship. My father said suddenly. I'll call Dr. Chen immediately, explain everything. I've already been in contact with Olivia Chen, I interrupted. She's seen the evidence and believes me. She'll speak with her father. I moved toward the door, feeling strangely calm despite the emotional storm we'd just weathered. Alec, please, my mother pleaded. At least tell us how to reach you. I paused at the threshold, looking back at the people who had raised me, who had failed me, and who now stood devastated by their own actions. I'll be in touch when I'm ready, I said finally. But right now, I need to go thank the people who actually stood by me. And with that, I walked out into the evening air, feeling the weight of vindication and the uncertain promise of a future reclaimed. I walked away from my parents' house that evening with mixed emotions. The vindication I'd sought had come, but it brought no immediate joy or relief. Instead, I felt hollow, the triumph of proving my innocence overshadowed by the knowledge that my own family had been so quick to believe the worst of me. Tyler and Olivia were waiting anxiously at our usual booth in the Sunshine Diner. "How did it go?" Olivia asked as I slid in beside them. "She confessed," I said simply. "When cornered with the evidence, she admitted everything." Tyler clapped a hand on my shoulder. "I knew the truth would win out." "What about your parents?" "They're devastated. Apologetic. But I couldn't just forgive and forget on the spot. Too much has happened." Olivia nodded understandingly. "Where will you go now?" It was a question I hadn't fully answered for myself yet. My parents had offered my old room back, but returning home felt impossible after everything that had transpired. The familiar would only highlight how much had changed, how much I had changed. "I'm not sure," I admitted. "But I'm not going back there, at least not yet." "You could crash with me," Tyler offered. "It's just a tent under a highway, but you're welcome to it for as long as you need." I smiled gratefully at him. "Thanks, but I think we both deserve better than that now." The next morning, as promised, Olivia spoke with her father about the evidence we'd gathered. Dr. Chin, true to his scientific principles, reviewed it thoroughly before contacting me directly. "Alec," he said when I answered his call, his voice heavy with regret, "I owe you an apology. I should have given you a chance to defend yourself before taking such drastic action. You were operating on the information you had," I replied, more gracious than I felt. "But yes, a chance to explain would have been appreciated. Your internship position is still open if you want it," he offered, "with back pay for the time you've been away." It was a generous offer, and one that would help me get back on my feet financially. But returning to Horizon felt complicated now, tangled with memories of betrayal and hardship. "Can I think about it?" I asked. "Of course," Dr. Chen replied. "The offer has no expiration date. And Alec, for what it's worth, I'm truly sorry for my part in what happened to you." That afternoon, I received a text from my mother. "We've transferred money to your account. It's not to buy forgiveness, just to help until you decide what you want to do. We love you." The sum was substantial enough to secure housing and basic necessities while I figured out my next steps. I sat on a park bench staring at the notification, conflicted about accepting it. In the end, practicality won out over pride. I needed the money, and refusing it would only prolong my hardship to make a point. Tyler helped me find a small studio apartment with a month-to-month lease. It was basic but clean, with actual walls and a real bed, luxuries after months of homelessness. "Look at you moving up in the world," Tyler joked as we carried in my few belongings. "There's a couch that pulls out into a bed," I told him. "It's yours whenever you want it." Tyler looked away, embarrassed by the offer. "I might take you up on that. Just until I get some things sorted out." Having Tyler as a roommate, even temporarily, felt right. He had been there for me when no one else was, believing my story without question and helping me fight to prove my innocence. Some debts can never be fully repaid. Over the following weeks, I began the slow process of rebuilding my life. I accepted Dr. Chen's offer to return to Horizon, though I negotiated a modified schedule that would allow me to also take on independent consulting work. The experience had taught me the vulnerability of depending too completely on any single institution or relationship. My parents continued to reach out, texts, emails, voicemails expressing remorse and asking to meet. After 3 weeks, I finally agreed to see them at a neutral location, a coffee shop downtown. The reunion was awkward, painful, necessary. My mother couldn't stop crying. My father, normally stoic, struggled visibly with his emotions. "We failed you," he said simply. "As parents, our job was to protect you, to believe in you. We did the opposite. You chose Vanessa's word over mine without even investigating," I acknowledged. "That hurt more than anything else. We've been in therapy," my mother offered, "trying to understand how we could have made such a terrible mistake." "And?" I prompted. "And we realized we've always held you to an impossible standard," my father admitted. We expected perfection from you, which made us paradoxically vulnerable to believing you could fail spectacularly. When Vanessa accused you, part of us was almost relieved in a twisted way. Like you were finally human. It was a painful truth, but one that resonated. I had always felt the weight of their expectations, the pressure to be the perfect son. I am human, I said quietly. I always have been. I make mistakes, I have flaws. But what Vanessa accused me of, you should have known that wasn't me. We should have. My mother agreed tearfully. There's no excuse. We agreed to continue meeting regularly, to work with a family therapist, to rebuild our relationships slowly on new foundations. It would be a long road, with no guarantee of reaching the closeness we once had. Some breaks can be mended but still leave visible scars. As for Vanessa, she faced consequences beyond family disgrace. When word spread about what she had done, she was placed on academic probation at her university for ethical violations. The AI company whose tools she had misused banned her account and flagged her information in their system. Most painfully for her, she became a pariah within our extended family, her deception too extreme to simply forgive and forget. I chose not to pursue legal action against her, though lawyers I consulted assured me I had grounds for a substantial civil suit. Vengeance held no appeal. I just wanted to move forward. 6 months after that confrontational Sunday dinner, Tyler had found a job at a small software company, thanks partly to references from Dr. Chin. He still stayed with me occasionally, our shared experience having forged a friendship that defied conventional origins. Olivia and I had grown closer as well, our relationship evolving from allies in investigation to something potentially more. I also found purpose in advocating for awareness about AI-generated false evidence. I began speaking at tech conferences and universities about my experience, pushing for better detection tools and legal frameworks to address this emerging threat. The technology that nearly destroyed my life will only become more sophisticated, I would tell audiences. We need safeguards before more lives are ruined by digital deception. 1 year after Vanessa's confession, my parents hosted a small gathering at their home, just immediate family, Tyler, Olivia, and Dr. Chin. It wasn't a celebration exactly, more a commemoration of survival and tentative healing. As we sat around the dinner table, so different from that terrible confrontation a year earlier, my father raised his glass in a toast. To truth, he said simply. And to second chances. I raised my glass with the others, reflecting on the journey that had brought us to this moment. The relationship with my parents would never be what it once was. Perhaps it would eventually be something better, more honest and less burdened by expectations. Perhaps not. Time would tell. What I knew for certain was that I had emerged from the ordeal stronger, more resilient, and with a clearer understanding of both human nature and cutting-edge technology. I had learned the hard way that family ties can be both our greatest strength and our greatest vulnerability. I had discovered that trust, once broken, can be partially repaired but never fully restored to its original state. Most importantly, I had learned that in a world where seeing is no longer believing, where AI can create convincing falsehoods, the truth still matters and is still worth fighting for, no matter the cost. As I looked around at the faces of those who had either helped me or were trying to make amends, I realized that while Vanessa had temporarily succeeded in destroying my old life, she had inadvertently led me to a new one that was, in many ways, more authentic and meaningful than what came before. Some lessons come at an unimaginable price. But if my story helps even one person recognize or prevent a similar AI-enabled deception, perhaps that price will have been worth paying after all. What would you do if your family believed false accusations against you? Have you ever had to prove your innocence when the evidence seemed stacked against you? I'd love to hear your thoughts and experiences in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video if it resonated with you, subscribe for more real-life stories, and share with someone who might need to hear that the truth can eventually prevail even in our AI-driven world. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, in a world of increasingly perfect fakes, the truth needs defenders more than ever.